This is a cell. These are the lipids, these are the protein molecules, and this is the carbohydrate chain. We're going to talk a little bit about how stuff is transported in and out of the cell. One way is through diffusion. Diffusion is when molecules tend to move from areas where they are most concentrated to an area where they're not as concentrated until their concentration is about the same everywhere. The concentration of molecules at various points between the high and low areas form a gradient, which is known as the concentration gradient. Because molecules diffuse from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration, they are said to move down the concentration gradient. Where the concentration gradient is, I do not know. Now we're going to talk a little bit about facilitated diffusion. Movement of specific molecules across cell membranes through protein channels, which would be somewhere in this general area. How does it work? The molecules travel from the protein channels to get from one end of the cell to the other, and the protein channels are inside the cell.
We're going to talk about osmosis, which is the diffusion of water through membranes. Why is this important? The process transfers water throughout the membranes of the cell, keeping the cell hydrated. Yeah. Water goes in. Yeah, in. Out. Yeah. How does it work? Well, if a living cell is placed in a solution of salt or sugar, because the water molecules are lower in the solution than in the living cell, osmosis causes the cell to shrink. But if a living organism is placed in pure water, the cell will likely expand. Yeah. Okay. Protein pumps. A kind of protein capable of pumping out compounds that are a threat to the cell. It makes sure that nothing harms the cell, so that's important. And how do they work? They pump out all the threats to the cell to keep the cell safe.
Okay, next we're going to talk about endocytosis. There are two types of this. They are pinocytosis and phagocytosis. When these cells absorb molecules from outside the cell by engulfing it with their cell membrane. This is important because it keeps the molecule population from overpopulating, and so protein can be absorbed in the cell. The cell absorbs molecules such as proteins to make sure that the cell always contains protein and the population doesn't overpopulate. Next, we're going to talk about exocytosis. This is the process of which a cell directs the contents of secretory vesicles out of the cell membrane. This is important because it gets rid of all the bad vesicles in the cell membrane. This works by pushing the sector vesicles out of the cell membrane so it does not harm anything in the membrane.
Guys,